That's the new episode of Human Brain Expo. And as we all know, Human Brain Expo is totally dedicated to the humanity in the highest sense of it, meaning that we are passionate about bringing the best of what human can bring to the world, to the universe. Everything related to science, business development. And today, we're talking with a very special and smart person who actually works in the direction of bringing more humanity to the business environment. To discuss it with Dr. Mayra. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's a pleasure. And I couldn't agree with you more. It goes far beyond business, right?
Yes.
For us, it's been an exploratory process and understanding not only the human being from a neuroscience standpoint, but from an emotional, psychological, and what it really looks like for leaders and managers out there. What are they living? What are they feeling? What are they experiencing?
My work around diversity, equity, and inclusion is really centering the humanity of the workplace. So it's making this work accessible. Lots of folks tell me DEI work feels like an HR issue. It really isn't. It's an organizational management tool. It's also an equity and inclusion tool, and how we serve not only our external clients, but how we serve our internal clients. This work for me feels like, how do we create spaces where people thrive, can use their genius, where there's voice and where there's opportunity, where there might not have normally been if we were following traditional kinds of leadership.
A little bit how you actually come. Maybe there's something in your background, maybe something happened in your life that actually brought you to this point, to this particular perspective.
Yeah, so there's two things. One, I started working at a very young age and started in the legal industry. And as I was, continuing my education, as I was evolving as a professional, I started to notice that there were a lot of people that were being left behind, that there was a lot of potential on the table, and that leaders and managers really struggled with identifying the why. Why are these people here? They know the business and we can't get them to lead or manage. So that was one thing that really kind of propelled me to be passionately curious, right? That was the beginning of me really starting to feel like I needed to understand things further and become a researcher. The second part is I actually went through an issue with my health. I had a neurological disorder for about a period of 5 to 6 years, which was really difficult to identify. And I would lose my capabilities and abilities to do very normal things. And so I had a life-saving brain surgery 3 years ago, actually. And that changed my perspective on how we experience not just the big things, but the little things. And so those two things, I think, were a major contributor to what we're now doing with my company, Management Cues.
How do you feel now?
I feel phenomenal. So, after that surgery, I was able to be completely healthy again.
Oh, perfect. There is always, the one thing that I can say for sure, a lot of people, like most of people, believe that our benefits, our strongest part is actually something positive, something outstanding in performance. But actually our pain points, whatever we have, our diseases, our pain, is actually something that really makes us unique, strong, get the best and more human perspective. Well, so we all know that actually, by the definition, the best managers bring the best of their employees, right? So, and you realized at some point that a lot of managers, they simply fail to identify. They fail to, because of multiple reasons, because of time, it takes time because of simply lack of communicational skills. A lot of managers really lack of communicational skills. Also because a lot of people, managers, they're so driven by business metrics. And they believe that something that stops them, even on a second, even something that doesn't allow them go on the same speed, it actually brings them behind, which is not true. Sometimes it can be really, really benefits. We all know there are a million cases in the business practices. We know that sometimes speed doesn't mean the best outcomes, and we know that there are lots of products, a lot of companies who actually eventually got bankruptcy because of simply they did not take enough time to think, to go through the all safety, all necessary procedures that would help them actually bring the better solution. So let's talk a little bit about what is your perspective on the way of approaching that. What is the best way? How can we better approach idea of human management?
Yeah. So I, in my career, I had the pleasure of moving through the ranks, right? Having experienced management at every level, from entry level to the top, to executive level operations as a chief operations officer. So one thing that I learned with my teams and now is part of our methodology at Management Cues is focusing on impact, not output. Because when we're focused on impact, we tend to work within the gap and acknowledge the resources that we have at the table in a very holistic way, which means that we start to understand that each person represents either a skill, a knowledge, or an experience gap. And as we look to develop people to ultimately build a capacity to lead, right? Which means taking them from managers to leaders, which is what you're referencing, right? If you have people who are just managers, their focus is only execution.